Have you ever met someone who seems to do completely strange things when it comes to money? They walk into a store and leave without buying anything. They spend days researching before making a simple decision. They use their belongings until the very last day of their useful life. They turn down promotions that everyone else takes advantage of. To many people, this seems excessive. It seems like a life without fun. But there's an interesting possibility. What if these behaviors, which seem so strange to most people, are exactly the reason some people manage to build wealth without earning extraordinary salaries? The most interesting part is that truly frugal people almost never do these things to appear smart. They simply see money differently. As you watch, try counting how many of these behaviors are part of your routine. You may discover you're much closer to financial freedom than you imagine. The first habit looks like pure indecision. Frugal people rarely buy something the moment they feel like it. They wait, sometimes a few hours, sometimes a few days. While most people believe acting quickly is efficient, they understand that desire is usually strongest during the first few minutes. When the emotion fades, many purchases stop making sense. What looks like hesitation is actually a quiet strategy to keep impulse from controlling their wallet. Another behavior that seems strange is enjoying research. Before buying a simple appliance, a phone, or even a backpack, they compare prices, read reviews, analyze flaws, and check how long the product is actually likely to last. Some people say that's too much work, but those who think that way rarely realize how much money is lost because of rushed decisions. A few minutes of research can save weeks' worth of work. Now think about this. Frugal people often ask a question that almost no one else asks. Do I really need this, or do I just like the idea of buying it? It seems like a small difference, but it completely changes the decision. Very often, the desire doesn't come from necessity, it comes from marketing, comparing yourself to other people, or simply the emotion of the moment. Separating needs from wants is a skill that's worth much more than it seems. There's also a habit that many people interpret as stinginess. They use things until the very end. Is the phone still working? They keep using it. Is the backpack still in good condition? There's no reason to replace it. While some people feel the need to replace everything just to keep up with trends, frugal people prefer to get the maximum value out of every purchase. They understand that every item used to the end represents money that stays invested in their future. Now, here's an interesting behavior. They're not impressed by sales. When they see a huge discount, their first reaction isn't to buy. Their first reaction is to think. They ask a simple question. If this were full price, would I still buy it? If the answer is no, the sale completely loses its power, because a discount doesn't turn an unnecessary purchase into a good decision. Another habit even seems pessimistic. Frugal people imagine problems before they spend. They think about maintenance, future costs, emergencies, and consequences before opening their wallet. Some people call this excessive worrying, but there's a huge difference between living worried and living prepared. People who anticipate problems usually solve small challenges before they become major losses. Now think of another situation. Have you noticed that frugal people rarely buy something just to impress others? They don't feel the need to replace their car because someone else did. They don't buy expensive clothes just to appear successful. They don't change phones just because a new model came out. While many people buy approval, they prefer to buy peace of mind. And that choice completely changes their financial future. There's another behavior that seems strange to almost everyone. They feel satisfied when they manage to save money. For many people, happiness is tied only to consumption. Buying something creates an immediate feeling of reward. But frugal people train their brains to also enjoy saving money, investing, or reaching a financial goal. When the reward no longer depends only on shopping, controlling spending becomes much easier. Another almost invisible detail is paying attention to small leaks. A forgotten subscription, a bank fee, wasted food, a service that's almost never used. Individually, they seem insignificant, but repeated over the years, they can consume a huge portion of your income. Frugal people understand that wealth rarely disappears because of one giant decision. It usually slips away slowly through small choices that go unnoticed by most people. Perhaps the strangest behavior of all is changing their minds without embarrassment. They do research, learn something new, and simply give up on a purchase that seemed perfect just hours earlier. While many people stick with bad decisions just to prove they were right, frugal people would rather protect their wallet than their ego. They understand that admitting a change of opinion costs much less than insisting on an expensive mistake. Now, do a quick mental count. How many of these habits did you recognize in yourself? One, three, maybe most of them? If so, here's some good news. Many behaviors that seem strange to people who live on impulse are exactly the ones that help build wealth over the long term. The truth is that frugal people don't think differently because they have more money. They end up having more money because they learned to think differently. At the end of the day, financial freedom rarely comes from one spectacular decision. It usually grows out of the quiet repetition of small, smart choices. Choices that almost no one notices. Choices that don't attract attention.